All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the More Than Just Code podcast. My name is Tim Mitra, and I am currently in Woodstock, New Brunswick, and I'm talking to Ryan McLeod in Amsterdam. Is that like
Oh,
Netherlands or?
yeah. Netherlands, Holland, Lowlands.
So my first question is how did you end up in Amsterdam?
Yeah, it's a good one. A lot of people ask. Um, I don't have a great answer, but just like a while ago when I was working on Blackbox, I kind of wanted to try taking advantage of being able to work remote when I could, and that was like a thing. And I had been here a long time ago for a few days and was kind of interested, so I thought I would come try it for like a little bit and ended up never leaving. So it's been 3 years now.
Wow, you've been 3 years.
And
Wow.
yeah, I've just been slowly falling in love with it. So I'm still back
Yeah,
home to the States as often as I can. But
I thought you were in. I don't know why I had. Were you not in the Valley area or San
I was
Francisco?
never really in the Bay. I was in San Luis Obispo, California. So like 3 hours south of the Bay, hour north of Santa Barbara, near Big Sur. So I went to Cal Poly University there and kind of stuck
Oh,
around for a
okay,
long
cool.
time. Really lovely
hmm
place.
So is that where that part of the world is where you're from?
Originally San Diego, but yeah, then like 9 years, I guess, in SLO, San Luis Obispo. Now 3 years in Amsterdam. So
So
yeah,
what did you study in Cal Poly?
computer science.
Oh,
Yeah,
really? Okay. Okay.
yeah, kind of a bit of an accident. I think it's sort of a funny school. Like it's a polytechnic school, and you apply with a major, and then like you just start taking classes in that. There's not a lot of like let me explore for a few years, which has its pluses and minuses. But apparently, I had applied computer science when I applied, and then I ended up deciding to go there. So did that. Tried to do design on the side, but they didn't really want me to do it as a major, so I had to figure it out myself.
So you took it as electives kind of thing, design courses and
Not, yeah, I was like trying to minor, like dual major for a while, but yeah, they didn't want me to do that. And then a lot of the classes were like Dreamweaver and like flexographic printing stickers and like cool stuff, but not like UI, UX type hot web 2.0, whatever it was at that time.
sure. Right. And what year time frame was that?
That was 2019 to 2014. I stuck around for an extra year and got a master's. So
Right, right.
nice little
Okay.
bonus.
So I mean, because the myth that I or the mythos that I've heard about Blackbox is that you were more of a designer, you felt more of a designer than a developer. Is that the case?
Yeah, I don't know. I've always felt I don't quite identify with any of the roles completely. Uh, Definitely don't feel like a game developer, although now I like accept that. I think I felt like a developer, maybe less of a designer, if anything. I was doing web development for a long time, but was always just like really interested in interface design and like novel interfaces and stuff. And I think that's what drove me to want to work on iOS and like learn that so I could make my own interfaces and whatever. It's like not quite the same when you're doing stuff on the web. Like you could do fun stuff, but it wasn't like inventing the pull to refresh or you know gestural interactions and stuff like that. So I think the designer thing, there was a big imposter syndrome for a while because it's like I'm not trained in that or anything. I just think I have a good eye for it. But like I couldn't use Figma or work on a team. I feel very feral. Like it works, but
But I think there's a lot of people feel self-taught on who do iOS development. Like I for instance come from
yeah,
an artistic background and fell into development through my need to want to make my computer bend to my will,
yeah,
and
yeah,
then the iPhone was just, I think it was just too cool when it came out, and then it was too cool when we could develop for it. I remember the debates about that. The thing that's interesting to us, or to me in particular, is that Blackbox was kind of your first app, if I'm not mistaken.
yeah.
It was an interesting concept. I mean, I I stumbled across it early in this, I can't remember how, maybe a tweet or something like that, but I saw it, grabbed it, started playing around with it, and it was sort of like, I think initially, I can't remember how many puzzles you had. You didn't have very many, but it was like
40 something.
trying, yeah, trying to do weird things with your phone, like,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
hold it level, hold it, perpendicular, hold it
yeah,
upside down, like some of the puzzles to, and
yeah.
the concept of sort of like, I guess, closing those, you sort of have a target on the
The
screen, and
lights, yeah,
yeah, they had to kind of close them in certain ways by
yeah,
physically using the device, right? Which is really a
yeah,
novel concept, right?
yeah. There's been a few apps and things that have poked at that, but I wanted to like create an entire kind of little ecosystem or game around it, I guess. It just the platform always felt so cool. Like really early on, I think one of the coolest things were seeing what people could do. It was almost like Apple was like, here's a little like development platform with sensors, like make stuff. And people did really cool stuff early on. There was like stud finders that used disruptions for the magnetometer thing. There was like a little tractor app I had where you put the phone on the table and it would vibrate and the tractor would like move across the side it was pushing or whatever. There was like the pocket warmer apps. There was like the fan to blow out candles, like all that stuff really stuck and captivated me. And then there was like the Inception app that would unlock different sounds if it was like raining or if you were in a different country and stuff. And then Clear had like secret themes that unlocked at different times. And I just like all that Easter egg stuff. Super fun. So folded it into a bit more. Just the idea also, I think it was driven by sort of a like race to the bottom in games at the time. It felt like there was a big push for like the one tap stuff for like the barely tap the screen, endless runner and stuff like that, which were fun.
Hmm.
But like, it just was like getting where you divorced from how cool the device was, and all these things were like lowest common denominator that they were just like a touch game that you could put on any glass surface with like a touch screen.
Right.
And you just like had all this cool stuff that could like understand your world and make it a part of the game, and not many people were using that really.
Yeah. Yeah. And like I said, I think it's sort of, 'cause maybe I do remember talking to you about this, but uh, sort of finding things that you could do with the phone that wasn't necessarily documented. I mean, like that was sort of the case for a lot of us
Yeah,
in those early days. The documentation was there, but there wasn't ways to access the stuff, right? I think you had to be pretty
yeah,
inventive, right?
yeah. It depends. I've like kind of avoided, I don't use private APIs or like have avoided things that feel brittle or that Apple could get rid of. But there's been weird stuff. Like the weirdest, most annoying one was probably detecting the silence switch.
Right.
There was like no real way to do that, but you could like play a silent sound and like get the time how long the completion handler took or something, like
Oh, really? Okay.
run that every like 30 second or half a second. Um, it's been weird stuff to just make it look like it's meant to function correctly. But
Well, and I think that I remember changing from one device to another. Changes in hardware must have sort of made challenges for you keeping, like, how do you deal with a
yeah,
Touch ID phone versus a Face ID phone versus an iPad
yeah,
that doesn't
it's
have something,
definitely, yeah,
accelerometer and gyroscopes and
yeah. It slowed me down a lot. There's only been like one hardware change that really sucked, and that was like the iPhone 6s changed the audio
oh yeah,
chip for the microphone, and like the audio libraries were not as great at that time, and it sort of screwed up. Like if you're trying to do fast Fourier stuff, it was like the buffer sizes changed and figuring that out. But stuff like that hasn't happened in a long time. Now it's just like, yeah, we switched from Touch ID to Face ID and like make that work, or the shape of the share sheet changed to update that. So every iOS now, there's kind of a lot of things I have to do just to make it appear like nothing's gone wrong.
hmm,
Removal of the headphone jack,
right,
fun stuff.
yeah, like I do, and um, yeah, I'm trying to think off the top of my head, but there were a couple of times when I was playing Blackbox, and I think I had changed phones and there was some oddity
Yeah,
about the way something behaved. I just remember, I to be honest with you, I haven't played with it in a while. I've gone back in a few.
it's fine. Yeah,
I mean,
nothing.
Mark and I, at one point, Mark and I were going neck and neck with how many have
Yeah,
you
yeah,
closed, and
yeah, yeah.
grabbing all the add-ons and stuff like that. Because I actually have a
Love that.
photo of him, and when we few times we've actually met face to face,
Yeah,
comparing our, holding up our phones, comparing our Blackbox accomplishments, right?
I think I
And I
remember a tweet or something. Yeah,
Yeah, sure. And then, well, I think you got a tweet from me because I was able to do one of the altitude ones where, and I'm giving spoilers for people who haven't played Black
yeah.
Box, but
I
there
think I
are some
remember
pretty
it.
cool challenges. Yeah, and I had to go to I we ended up driving to this place called Eagle's Nest in near where our cottage used to be, north of Peterborough, and there was like this. I said to my wife, "What's that up there?" She says, "Oh, that's the Eagle's Nest lookout." And I said, "Well, how high up is that?" Guess what I'm gonna do, right? So we drove up, and I
Nice.
remember it was like super steep, and trying to get my my regular
Yeah,
car up this hill,
yeah,
and then standing on top of the hill in northern
yeah.
Ontario, taking a picture for the Twitter, right?
I love it. I think it was like Shield Rock or something. I almost. Or there was
Yeah,
like some.
Canadian Shield. Yeah, it's part of the Canadian
Yeah,
Shield, which is like
yeah.
part of something was left over from when a glacier eroded away.
Cool. Yeah,
Yeah,
that photo's in my mind. Kind of. Yeah, I mean that was the idea of making that challenge, was to give people that extra push to do that. There were so many crazy stories like back in the day when it was really popping off, just people describing how they just drove out in the middle of the night in the rain
yeah,
to like drive up some mountain, and their partner was like, "What are you doing?" Don't worry
yeah,
about it.
yeah. It's all about
Yeah,
black box. Gee, here, hold the
yeah.
phone, look at it, tell me if I've meet the goal yet.
I gotta get more crazy stuff out. It's gotten kind of tamer recently, but
Yeah. Well, I remember I was excited. I got to go to California for something. I think it was for work or
yeah,
whatever, which gave me the distance from home goal, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Spoiler
Because
alerts. Yeah,
yeah, you could do like 200. I think it was like 200 miles. I'm going to say because I think it's in miles, not kilometers. But
it's in kilometers.
is it okay? Yeah. And
Yeah,
then I think the last light was like you had to be like way. I'm not going to say how far away, but you had to be far away
it's
from home.
very far. Yeah, yeah,
That's a bit of a teaser there.
yeah,
Cool.
yeah.
So
Farther than you
speaking of
think.
far from home, we were talking earlier about like how you ended up in Amsterdam. I do know that like in the early days of iOS, like I want to say 2010, 2011, I met Mike Lee at 360 iDev, and I believe he
Hmm.
lives in Amsterdam because they were calling it
Really?
Amsterdam. Have you ever heard of
Oh,
Amsterdam?
I remember I stumbled across an old website early on when I moved here and was kind of looking for people.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a like really good little iOS community. Like it's just really impressive, the government apps here, from like the post office to the train service to the government inbox type app and stuff. They're all like support dark mode and are really
Oh,
well
really?
made, and like this, I don't know, impressive to see.
Yeah, because I guess the brain trust went out there, right? So, and you said
Maybe.
you said earlier you just it was just something you'd been there before. You wanted to go back and check it out, and now you're stuck there,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Against my will. Not
Well, I
really.
mean, so you went out? You were there obviously before the pandemic hit and all that stuff, but I mean,
Yeah. It was a pretty good place to be. I mean, don't need to get into all the details of it, but we had like a pretty largely normal summer and got to run and do stuff. It wasn't a lot of places like France and Spain were pretty
pretty
locked down,
heavy.
but things were fairly normal here. So it
Yeah.
sucks not being able to go home for about a year and a half, but I finally made it back. Um, Went home and finally got to see everyone. So
Well, this is my
the
first trip to see family here
oh
in
well,
New Brunswick. Yeah, I have cousins in Fredericton, just down the road, and obviously people here on the farm as well, right? So
yeah,
yeah,
well,
we've not this first plane ride I've been on in 2 years, right? So kind of
same.
weird. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's good times. Um, yeah. So how like from a business point of view, like I'm curious, like did Blackbox kind of take off, or was it like how did it? How did it affect you, like, as a developer?
Yeah, it's I think I'm like I've been really lucky with how much Apple's liked it and just kind of how the ecosystem has been, I think. I don't Having not worked on any other apps, I don't quite know what it's like. I hear things from other developer friends and stuff, but I think games in some ways are easier and harder. Like, I think people are more willing and ready to spend on games. I think Apple likes promoting games. There's also a lot of competition, and people kind of come in and out. So I think that helped for the most part. It's When I first launched it, I wasn't sure. I thought my measure of success like had to change a lot. I just was hoping maybe to get a few thousand people to download it, but I'd kind of done some of the basic math in my head, understanding conversion rates and stuff like that, um, to think like maybe it was possible to do it semi full time. But luckily, I hadn't really taken on like a full time salaried job before, so I didn't know how much money I could be making. So I was pretty stoked to be making anything more than I was like freelancing as a web developer. So it's been up and down, but fairly stable, which has just always surprised me. I'm just always waiting for, the number of people that haven't heard of Blackbox and would be interested in it to like run out at some point. But the game continues to get, at least 1,000 new people finding it every day.
Wow,
And
that's pretty cool.
with like good sort of game design and stuff that works out and I can do it full time. It's like not without stress, and I can't like grow a team to handle some of the things that I would like to not be doing.
Right.
But it's still kind of possible, I guess.
Hmm, that's
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah, I guess that's the goal, is to kind of grow as an entrepreneur. You want to kind of grow beyond being a lone wolf to someone who has a team, and then you eventually become a small company.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. I feel like that's the narrative, and there was people kind of encouraging me to go that route. People that wanted to work together, people that wanted to invest and stuff like that. And I just really, I think, was scared of that for a long time. Having anyone be dependent on me, and always thought I might just kind of want to like drop this and do something else. And I think I'm glad that I kept it that way. Sometimes I have kind of regrets on that. I see other app developer friends that are growing little teams and really able to like see their dreams sort of manifest a lot quicker. But um, I don't know. I'm very thankful it's like afforded me a nice lifestyle and to have like the freedom that comes with. So
Well, I think you mentioned you listened to the last episode with James Thompson. He sort of,
yeah,
in the same way, had this one app
yeah.
that he's been living
I don't
off for.
understand. I've never understood it.
Yeah, well, he's got two. I mean, a drag thing was a pretty popular utility. A lot of us had it on our computers. I think, like when I
Yeah,
mentioned thing to anybody who had a Mac back in the day, they're like, "Oh yeah, I totally had that one." And
yeah,
not so much pcalc. I mean, pcalc is kind of a
yeah.
unique, it was, to me, it was all sort of all, I mean, I got involved with it because I saw a tweet about it and it was pretty funny.
Right.
And I just thought it was ridiculous that you could put
Yeah,
pcalc on everything that Apple made.
yeah, yeah.
So pcalc for the HomePod, pcalc for AirTag, like, not quite that far, but I
Yeah,
think
yeah, yeah.
if he could, and I'm amazed again too. Like, I have a lot of apps that I wrote back in the day, and they're still on the app store. They're still being downloaded, and they're still, like, they've got Objective C. In fact, one of my apps that's still being sold uses manual memory management.
No way.
I never made the jump to Arc with it, and it's still functioning
Damn.
and working and updatable and so on and so forth, right? But
Wow. I'm
yeah,
so
yeah.
glad we don't have to do that anymore.
Well, so when did Black Box start? When did you start working on it?
I started working on it technically like I opened the project, I think, the end of 2014,
Oh
but
wow.
really worked on it in 2015 and
Hmm.
then launched it early 2016. So
So is it Swift or Objective C or
it
initially?
it it was Objective C because I thought this newfangled thing is not going to be a thing for a while, and
Right.
I was wrong.
Yeah. Well,
I still don't
it
know.
would have been a rough ride for the first 2 years. Yeah.
It would have been a rough ride, I think, with all
Yeah.
the libraries and stuff. But
Yeah.
a few 3 years ago, I started transitioning everything new to Swift,
Right.
and was
Yeah.
so stoked at how well Apple planned that out for the cross support. So
Hmm.
I think I'm like really close to a halfway point of almost half the code being Swift, but like 80 or 90% of what I interact with daily is in Swift. It's just mostly like old views and stuff.
Right.
So that makes my life a lot better. Yeah, but I can't
So
wait to start a new project and have it just be 100%.
Swift UI. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Swift UI is pretty cool. It is pretty like yeah. I think you're probably
I haven't played with it yet.
more concerned with collection views and you
Custom
know
stuff is my
yeah.
concern. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that I mean what's nice about Swift UI is you can blend in other things too, right? So, but
Yeah.
I've done the same thing. I've got Objective C apps, and I guess my question is, are you considering refactoring some of that older Objective C stuff, or would you just leave it as it is?
Yeah, I there's a part of me that really likes to procrastinate on real work by
Yeah.
converting classes to Swift, because I think I can listen to like loud music and I feel like I'm working fast and accomplishing a lot, but I'm like doing pretty mindless stuff. And then I usually break something and I have to convert another class into Swift, and then I destroy something and I have to make some weird enum interop thing. So I've sort of taught myself to not, if it's not broke, don't fix it, to some
Right.
degree, unless it's easy. But I say that all the time, and then 4 hours pass. So I don't think it's really possible for me to, because Blackbox has like, I don't know, 50 custom level views, and it's really not necessary to change all those over. But like all the core components of the game, I would eventually like to get ported over, and that is
Right.
sort of happening. It's just
So
hard with some of the stuff where you can't inherit, you can't subclass a Swift object as an Objective C object, right?
right. Yeah. Yeah.
So
To a certain
so a
extent,
lot of
yeah.
those views I can't. Yeah, I realized yesterday that I could just extend the Objective C empty class and get pretty close. So
Nice. Yeah.
maybe I'll do that more. But
Are you talking about extending it as a category or extending it on the Swift side?
I could make like the Objective C class and then extend it with a Swift
Okay.
file
Right.
that has all the functions. And then I would still be able to subclass it with the old Objective C subclasses that I'm not able to convert.
And then you'd be able
Yeah.
to read back from what you've done in Swift, or the Swift stuff is sort of an island on its own, like the extension. I mean,
Yeah, it's just an island for like the superclass to, because I'm usually not interacting with the subclasses. Like the individual level, if it's not broken, is fine. It's like the core game level class that I need to muck around in. But
cool.
yeah, I have a good friend that always is telling me not to mess with this stuff. It's not worth it.
Yeah, no,
People would like me to move on from Blackbox to begin with. So, but it's
yeah.
a
I
fun
mean,
distraction.
yeah, I find that with with my apps, there's a lot of really clunky Objective C stuff in there, but um, yeah, I look at it every now and then, and I kind of go, oh, I've got other things to do,
Yeah,
rather than try and it's the case with a lot of things. Like, unless we're refactoring something major, it's not often not worth the effort to go through just for the sake of going through it. I mean
yeah,
that's the sort of discussion point you hear a lot of people like early in the Swift days, abandoned their or didn't quite abandon their entire Objective C code, but
right,
rewrote the whole app. That's the story. Rewrote the whole app in Swift, and
yeah,
while that's possible for a new app, right? It's probably a little challenging for. I mean, there were some talks back in the
yeah.
early days if you're doing that, right?
It's difficult when you're trying to juggle the in between and you have weird architecture and you need to use the enums in both or whatever. But um, yeah, it's getting there. I think I take sort of like a Boy Scout approach now of like when I need to use it or update it, I'll often be like, okay, now is the time to like rewrite it because it'll probably save me time in the end. Sometimes I blow things up though. So all those
Well,
issues with importing
and since
headers and
you're
forward declarations. Blah.
yeah, and since you're a team of one, you're the only one that knows about that, right?
Yeah, it's just like all up here.
Yeah, yeah.
There's some good comments.
From yourself?
Yeah, a lot
Yeah,
of
I have.
comments talking to
Yeah,
myself.
yeah,
It's like this
like
because of this. Like, yes,
yeah.
it's
Don't
in
break
four
this. Yeah,
years. Don't. Yeah.
yeah. Like
Wonder what would
some
happen.
of my favorite comments is, "I can't believe this works," and a lot of Xcode question mark question mark question mark. Right?
Oh,
Like when
nice.
you there was remember the days when you'd go and you just touch a storyboard and all of a sudden it would update. Like
Yeah, I don't do
what?
that.
Yeah. So I used to
None of those
avoid
anymore.
touching stuff, right? Or
Oh, I
like
see.
from somewhere else go and I forget what we call it, remove or
Yeah,
ignore the changes, right?
yeah.
Kind of thing. But
Mine's mostly
that's
notes to future self of just like this is like this because
yeah.
the microphone on the iPhone 7, blah blah blah. Like, don't try to over engineer this. Don't try to
So
correct this.
just out of curiosity, do you do any sort of analytics to sort of see what your customer base looks like what devices they're using, and
Yeah, I do all the normal basic analytics. I've like I was really interested in like the data science stuff back before it became kind of, I don't know, a dirtier word or something.
hmm
Um, so I would collect all this different, metrics on the levels and stuff like that, but I never actually had the time to like go in and do that. And then I realized like, oh wow, this is why it's like a full-time data scientist position job. Like I'm sure it would be really helpful, but for me it's just like basic health metrics of like, why did this no, like nobody's solving this challenge anymore, like it's probably broken, or like this challenge gets solved a lot less on iOS 15 or whatever it is. um, but I'm not doing nearly as much of that as would like to. I do some basic like A/B tests these days, which I think is just like really helpful and necessary uh, to kind of make things work as in India without a lot of guessing in the dark. But yeah.
so do you find you have to do a lot of marketing to promote the app? Or I mean, I bought your pin, by the way. Thank you for
Thanks. Hope it
that.
arrived well.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, nice little
Cool. Yeah.
packaging, I gotta say.
Thanks. You figured out the little extra bit.
Oh, I haven't figured out the extra bit. Now I have to go back and look.
I hope you still have the packaging.
I do. I do. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, the merch has been fun. Um, what was your question?
Uh,
Marketing. Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
I
marketing.
haven't done a ton of marketing. I think like early on, I was trying to get into it and figure it out and do like competitions on social media. And I was like, I made like a sealing wax thing, and I would send people letters of thank you and stickers, and I was pretty involved. And then I realized just um, I didn't know what I was doing. If I'd had more money at the time, I would have hired someone else to like kind of maybe figure it out. Or if I'd been scrappier and more hustly, I could have found an intern or figured something out. But it just always stressed me, and I kind of had enough coming from Apple. And I think I kind of learned if I like do cool things using their features and let them know, like those features were so much huger than any press that I could get was. There were like some viral moments that happened. There was one from like Mashable's story on Snapchat that just like was totally insane and led to, like 100,000 downloads in a day type
Wow.
deal. Just ludicrous, something I had like no control or didn't see coming. So it was like I realized I could like try to engineer for events like that, or like pour a ton of money into like influencer stuff or ads, but without really knowing what I was doing, I think I sort of stayed away from those things. So it's
Sure.
been pretty much all organic stuff. Like I try to build in things into the app to make people like talk about it with each other or like want to share it. Um, but try to stick to kind of the organic route. I don't know. I mean, if Apple changes like their algorithms completely overnight, my entire thing could dry up. So we'll see. I'm
Well,
just trying to get it to like as high as a point as I can before I
yeah.
turn off the money faucet or whatever.
Yeah, well, it's funny. I've noticed over the years that, like, I've got a few apps. So I call it pizza money in my case, right? Like, I end at the end of the month I can buy a pizza, but and I'm not really putting a lot of effort into it, to be honest with you. But
Yeah,
the but I've noticed that the size of the pizza I can buy has gotten smaller over time
yeah, it
as Apple
happens.
changes. Yeah. So,
Yeah,
so if I remember correctly, you do a lot of in-app purchases to sort of open up sets and stuff like that. And I think you also have like a
yeah,
tip jar kind of deal, like buy me a burrito. How
yeah,
does that?
yeah,
Is
exactly.
that where your income comes from in the app, or
Yeah, I mean, it's 100% the in-app
yeah,
purchases. Just sort of weird when you like pay your rent and realize it comes from, hundreds of people as $5 purchases.
yeah, yeah,
But yeah, it's been crazy learning how all of that works. I launched the app like with it's like 80% of the puzzles were free. I think the
hmm
last 20% you could buy. It was going to be $2 for launch week. I made it like 99 cents. And then you could unlock hints for 99 cents. I just wanted it to be like simple and not have ads and be really clean.
yeah, yeah,
Um, and then like it took me forever learning like people were very willing to pay $2. A lot of people didn't want to pay $2 once they got to the last 10 levels because they already got like 40 levels for free and they didn't find it was worth it. Like a
uh,
lot of people just like never got that far in the game before they deleted it to begin with.
oh really?
So there's a lot of like learnings and failings from that. It really helped talking to other indie developers and stuff that would push me and be like, you gotta lock this down more, or
Yeah,
and I think I get kind of um I don't know, like too nice about it sometimes, and
yeah,
having to remember that like if I can't be successful with this, then like more the same people that are enjoying it like can't get more puzzles. If I have to be like considering taking on a full-time job and stopping Blackbox, that's also like not worth it for people. So
yeah,
it was good to kind of learn that and like lock down more and increase the prices a bit. I've simplified it now. It's just like half the game is locked, half the game's free. I think it's like $5 to get the rest of it. And then I do packs of hints. And that was another thing early on. I just had the 99-cent hints. The app was like really not doing well after the first few months, and I was interviewing places now that I like finally had an app on the app store to show off.
right.
Um, and I did like this one last ditch hurrah where I saw all the other games were doing like the bundles, the treasure chests and stuff. I tried to do it
Yeah,
a little more tastefully. So it was like a $1 to $20 purchase of hints. And then I added a second pack of challenges for like $2 and launched that. And it was just like doubled revenue overnight sort of thing. Just like, oh, okay. Like I need to mess around with this more and just sort
right.
of listen to people. People asked to donate money too. They asked if they could support it better. I felt a little uncomfortable about that, and then eventually decided if I kind of made it like a physical representation, like the burrito and the coffee that you can buy for me in the game. If I gave people like a special secret app icon and stuff like that, it was more okay. And then eventually added the merch. But most of the income comes from the like puzzle packs and the heads.
Yeah, so you haven't thought about Patreon, or because I guess like I know a couple of apps developers, they changed their model away from purchases to subscription model, right? So I don't know if you have you thought about that, or is that would that work with you, or
Yeah, I think like the Patreon thing people have suggested, and it's like I do like to treat it as a business. I don't want to necessarily like be under scrutiny and expectation and stuff like that. So this is a little more
Mhm.
comfortable for me. Same goes with the subscription. It's like I think if I had a subscription, I would really need to make sure I was releasing a new puzzle every month, and I would need to have a schedule, and I would need to hire
Yeah,
people, and I probably could do that with the subscription,
yeah,
but I don't really want to. So I think the app was I designed it with in-app purchase in mind as
right.
the way to make it sustainable. So it's not really built around that. But
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah.
maybe
So
something else.
I guess the question is like, how do you come up with new puzzles? I mean, like, what can there possibly be?
There's a million ideas left.
Oh, really? Oh, that's good
Not
to
a million, like maybe 50. Yeah,
yeah.
I have a long list. It's honestly not the hard part of creating a game, which I think
Okay.
is surprising to a lot of people.
Hmm.
I'm thinking of ideas all the time when I'm running or biking or just I don't know. They just pop up washing the dishes or whatever.
Yeah.
I just you kind of you have this also like you understand the sort of attack space of the phone and the APIs, so to speak, and
Yeah.
might kind of wonder about something. I think just being kind of curious, like the phone has that sensor, but nobody uses it like that. Like, would that work?
Right. Right. Yeah.
Like how could that break in the future? How can you make that into a compelling puzzle? There's a lot of that. Yeah, the ideas come from all over, but there's
Cool.
no secret sauce process to it. I don't think.
I mean, yeah, I think it was pretty cool. Like, I loved the iPad where it first came out. Like, there was an Alice in Wonderland app where they had, Lewis Carroll's illustrations were uh, common. What do you call it? They were publicly available.
Oh yeah,
They
yeah,
weren't
yeah.
they weren't copyrighted, right? Common. What do you call it?
Creative Commons.
Creative Commons, sort of that kind of thing, right? They were out there in the public domain. So they
Yeah.
built this app, and what was cool about it though is they used the accelerometer
Mm.
to move objects around the screen. So like
Yeah.
when the pill bottle would the pills would fall all over the place, and that
Yeah.
kind of mechanics was really kind of cool. And that that's I think part of where some of the things in Blackbox come from, right? Like I love being able to use I use my iOS devices all the time, like to be able to
Yeah.
use it like as a level or
Yeah.
or a compass or those kind of things, right? And I think those are the interesting things. But you're right. I guess a lot of us don't really realize all the things that our phones can do that someone like you who tinkers with them does, right? So
This is something that always frustrates me, and is what drives Blackbox. Is just there is so much available to make the context better for these apps, and you don't even have to notice it. Whether it's like adjusting the temperature of the screen, stuff Apple does with ambient light, or kind of understanding where you are to adapt things. Like I want to see more apps thinking of those things and using
sure.
them. Yeah.
Yeah, it's surprising. I remember when I got my first iPad, I was sitting in the backyard with a friend of mine. He had his first iPad, and like in Canada, we didn't have the iPad on day one. We had to drive to the States to get them. But we're sitting in the backyard, and it was sunny day, and all of a sudden our iPad shut down because it got too hot. I'm like, what is that all about, right? And then the other day, I was just like here on the farm. We had the whole family together, and we were doing some family shots up on the deck, and I was using the fill flash because it was a really bright day, and I wanted to like photography trick to light people up is use fill flash, right? And my phone said I can't use the flash anymore until the phone cools down. It was like 30 degrees Celsius outside,
Yeah.
And it's like those kind of things, like you don't even know your phone does this, right?
Yeah. No.
Like there are things that and all the sort of magical stuff that we take for granted, like when you park your car using CarPlay, and then you look at your phone, it knows where your car was because
totally
dropped a little geolocation on it, right? So
there's another unsettling one with the temperature that when your phone gets hot like that, it drops the maximum screen brightness.
Yeah.
And so you'll be like, what's going on? You go in Control Center and try to bring it back up, and it won't go
right
until the device cools down, and then you see it kind of will do like a jump and come back up. But there's an API for the temperature.
Nice to know.
I have a little open source app you can install for this, because I was having issues where I was doing animation testing and the animations would look really janky. And I finally figured out it was because the phone, I had it on like a wireless charger, and it was doing all this intense stuff, and it would get too hot, and then they would like downclock the CPU or GPU or whatever.
Right.
And you'd see stuttering. So just to be able to look at that and be like, oh, it's in its like critical temperature state. Okay, let's pop it in the fridge for a minute.
Yeah, that's a hint for you people who want to play Blackbox. I haven't done it yet.
I haven't done that one because I'm afraid of inspiring wrath from above.
Yeah,
from Cupertino,
exactly.
I mean.
Yeah, I know what you mean. So speaking of Cupertino and Apple, so you did win an Apple Design Award. What year was that you won?
2017. Yeah,
2017. And what was that like about? Like, how did that hit you?
that was wild. Yeah, that it was really special. I don't know. There's just had always been a dream since whenever I'd heard about that and sort of followed. I don't think I like fully even realized what that meant until it happened, because it just felt so foreign. And there was people early on when Blackbox came out saying things on Twitter and stuff like, "This is totally going to win an Apple Design Award. This should win a Design Award." And I was like, "Wow, I don't think that's true," but that's very kind, especially when you're just like too close to your own work. And yeah, so when that happened, it was just very, very unreal, and also very nice to feel like I could finally kind of consider myself a designer too.
Well, yeah, I mean, like the companies that have won those awards, have a whole team of people behind them. It's very, very I think there are a few obviously awards that go to like indie developers, but yeah,
it happens.
Yeah,
really wild.
So, yeah, that's kind of cool. Congratulations on that, because I know how hard it is to win those, and how selective they are about who they choose, right? So
it's a real honor. It's definitely changed my life for the better, I think, just with people it's open doors. Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, no, it's kind of cool. I mean, again, I'm still dumbfounded this was your first app.
Me too. Many times it wasn't supposed to happen.
Yeah, my first app I was pretty proud of that one too. But that was developed with a team of people, and it was early days, and we were probably too early for the market. But yeah, that's kind of cool.
No, I think it was so much easier by the time I got started. I mean, we had Arc for starters.
Yeah.
I think sometimes I wonder, because I really early on wanted to do the Stanford course and stuff like that and get into it. But I think I was kind of itching to do it for a long time. I don't know, glad it turned out this way and worked. There's many places along the way that it could have gone wrong and never been like this. So
right.
Yeah.
So when you got started with iOS, did you do like the iTunes course, or how did you get started?
I took a class at Cal Poly, actually.
Oh, okay.
It was the first time they were offering it. They were like one of the first universities to offer it. And our professor, John Bellardo, had gone to, I think, Apple to learn about teaching it or something.
Okay.
And yeah, it was Objective-C and with manual memory management and all that. I think it was just eye-opening that to realize that it wasn't that hard or foreign, because I was mostly in school doing like Java and C programs. And then on the side, I was doing like web design and web development type stuff. And just for someone to be like, look, here's like the basic lifecycle stuff. The code is like not that different, have at it. And all the stress of publishing something to the App Store the first time, once you get over that, it's just like, wow, I can just create stuff for the multi-tool that we all carry. Pretty rad.
Cool. And thankfully the internet hasn't been a challenge. When James was on, we had a few seconds where like he would say something and I would just get like the first word.
Yeah.
But yeah, so, and I had to edit those out or have him repeat what he said, which is so far so good.
Yeah, it's so smooth.
Yeah, so we have a section of the show I stole from Tammy and Roundabout Creative Chaos, where I ask some questions, just some random questions based on Marcel Proust's questions. And so if you're comfortable or whatever, I can throw some of these at you after the phone stops ringing. Cool. So the first question: what is your motto?
Oh man. You might have added some silence out of this.
Yeah. Does Blackbox have a motto?
I would just say, yeah. I mean, for Blackbox, it's think outside the box. Personally, maybe it's more just like stay curious. Yeah, I think getting people to step back and sort of critically think about things is kind of one of the goals of Blackbox. So I try to apply that to my own life.
Cool. I remember when a lot of times when I'm doing a art for the show, I always do a theme piece, right? And I remember the very first time that, so this is like a confession to you. The very first time, the first screen you see when you install the app, if I remember, because it's like a black screen with white text on it. And I thought that was so cool. I stole that and used that for our episode art for that when I talked about Blackbox. But and I think you only see that at the very, 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 very beginning, right? So
it's only the very beginning. Yeah. The definition of Blackbox.
And what is it?
How does it start? One device with unknown internal functions, something. And then 2, it's a game that redefines frustration.
Cool. Well, there's your motto right there. Game that redefines frustration. So who are your heroes in real life?
These are tough, man.
Yeah.
Have these prepared. I don't know specifically. I'd have to think about it more, but I think just anyone that kind of like sees around the status quo and like breaks us forward a bit farther, like taking the right steps back, or by being properly rebellious in like a train of thought. I can't think of a specific person.
So the people who push the boundaries, try things, fly across the Atlantic in a plane for the first time, that kind of stuff.
No, I think like more than being daring, more people that realize things don't have to be the way they've always been, and are able to see the other ways things can be, and kind of take a step back and change. Those are like, I think, big inflection points. I'll have to think on a specific person though. No one comes to mind.
Okay, so here's maybe this one's a bit easier. Who are your favorite writers?
Oh man, I really love Michael Pollan. I read a lot of his work, and I can't not mention. Don't know how to pronounce name, but the 3-Body Problem author. Been having a lot of good conversations about his work. Good way to like see things from a different perspective. I think Pollan also does that really well with just like seeing plants in a totally novel light.
Cool. All right. What's your idea of perfect happiness?
Man. Like personally or like generally?
You tell me. There's no wrong answer.
Yeah, I think personally it would just be like being able to explore whatever is interesting to me, and just being able to like work on art or cooking or whatever, and just be around, my closest friends and be able to hang out, just have an easy time.
So question, can you take a vacation if you're the sole developer of Blackbox?
I have to talk to the boss, and
who's the
sometimes
boss?
It doesn't go well, but he's not a nice guy.
Okay. Cool.
No, I take some good vacation time. Yeah. Sure. Trying to take advantage of doing this thing while I can. So
yeah, well, I mean, that's the beauty of being able to work remotely too, like you mentioned earlier, right?
Yeah.
Okay, how about this? Who's your favorite hero of fiction?
Fictional hero.
It can be a movie, comic book, novel, science fiction.
I think I'm learning that I don't have a lot of like clear heroes.
All right. What's your favorite word?
Ooh. I really love didactic.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good one.
Why do you like didactic? the meaning or the way it
Um,
feels when you say it, or?
I like the way, I like the way it sounds, and I like that it itself is kind of memorable in that way. Yeah, I think there's some other ones like noetic, like too. I do have favorite words. I just don't have people.
Cool. All right. Yeah, a bunch of these questions are about people, so I'm going to skip over them. What's your most treasured possession?
Oh, I mean, probably that 10-centimeter cube of aluminum that lights up when I touch it.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Does it?
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
It's safely stored in my parents' house. I haven't dared fly with it or mail it over here.
Really? Cool.
It's on loan to their trophy cabinet of my dad's surf trophies.
Yeah, I wonder if the neutron star in the middle of it will implode if you've tried to fly with it.
Triple A's.
Does it have a battery compartment?
It's very user replaceable.
Oh, really? That's nice. Well, that's surprising.
Yeah, it is.
Cool. Does it have a lightning port in the back for charging it?
I've wanted to put a 10-pin dock connector in it for years, but haven't gotten to that project.
Right, cool. Well, a friend of mine actually who works for a fruit company he's a woodworker, and so he made some out of wood, like really nice looking, like
88, like the
chunk
Apple Design Awards.
Yeah, and he 3D printed the little Apple logo that lights up.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, I don't know what he's done with them all, but I'd love to get my hands
cool.
on one. Yeah, cool. Let's see, what else can I ask you? That's where would you most like to live?
Actively figuring that out.
Cool.
Somewhere that seems to have some sanity to it and good infrastructure and wild nature. Yeah, I think something I like about here is it kind of feels like a town and a city in one. Has some of those small aspects and big aspects. I would love to be a little closer to like wild, untouched nature that you have in California.
Yeah.
Good food.
We have lots of untouched nature here in Canada too.
Do need to poke around Canada more. Yeah.
It sounds like my brother-in-law is starting to mow the lawn again, so that's a good time to end this. So can you tell our listeners and viewers where they would be able to find you on the interwebs?
Yeah, I think best place is probably Twitter, and I'm there as Warpling, like warping with an R. And yeah, feel free to send me a message there.
Cool. All right. And I normally ask people what they're working on next, but I have a feeling it's going to be working on Blackbox next, right?
Yeah, I have lots of other ideas, and I'm trying to make the room for them, but right now it's Blackbox.
So is it like a full day, like 40-hour a week kind of deal, or?
I'm trying to not do 40-hour weeks anymore. So development's gotten slowed down because I used to work on weekends and stuff, but it's a full-time thing. Yeah, definitely don't have enough time.
Cool. All right. Well, thanks for joining us, and
thanks for having me.
See you out in the Twitter sphere.
Yeah, hopefully at a conference near you soon.
This has been another episode of the More Than Just Code podcast. If you want to find out more about the show, you can visit the More Than Just Code website at mtjc.fireside.fm. There you can find a summary and show notes of each episode. We list links to the apps, code, and news that we mentioned on the show. If you like the podcast, tell your friends, leave a comment on the website, or write a review on iTunes. And please recommend us in your favorite podcatcher. All of these things help others find out about the show. We really appreciate your help with spreading the word. We're also on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. We'd love to hear from you, so use the hashtag AskMTJC and we may mention you on the show. Friends of the show can also join us on the podcast Slack channel. Once again, the podcast Twitter account is at @MTJC_podcast. Please consider supporting the show by pledging any amount on patreon.com/MTJC. Every dollar pledged helps a lot. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.
thanks for joining me.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I can't believe it's been this long. I'll see you in a few years.
Yeah. Well, I mean, at one point I was hoping to get a T-shirt from you, but I got the pin. The pins last longer than the T-shirts, right?
Oh yeah, true. Yeah, we can do the T-shirt. You missed the Cotton Bureau days. I thought.
Yeah.
We didn't. Yeah.
But this is something I've wanted to do for a while because, like, you may have heard of Roundabout Creative Chaos. I was on with Tammy Coron. We interviewed a number of people, and so I'm sort of going through a bucket list of developers that I wanted to talk to because we had a list of people we put forward, and Tammy did all the scheduling. She would reach out to people, and so there was probably about 10 names, yours included, was on that list. And so I'm kind of going to James Dempsey or not James Dempsey, James Thompson was one that's on the list. Yeah, so. Cool. I got him off there. So, and then there are a few more people. So I'll be approaching them. But yeah, and I also unofficially Blackbox is the puzzle of the official puzzle of the More Than Just Code podcast, right? So
I appreciate that.
Yeah, we felt we discovered. Anyway,
I was just going to say I was curious because I was looking at our communication, and I felt like we did the Creative Chaos interview recently, but it was like the very beginning.
Did we talk on Creative Chaos?
Yeah, I think so. 2016, I think.
Oh, okay, right, cool. Well,
yeah,
this is a catch up then.
Terribly confused about it though. I mean, yeah, it feels like it wasn't that long ago.
Yeah,
it's time.
Yeah,
you got your hands in many pots.
For sure. Yeah, I got a full-time job. I'm on vacation this week, which is why I'm out here in New Brunswick. So
I don't understand how you do all the different things. I tried taking on a side thing and everything falls apart.
Yeah, well, I think I've been scattered for too long, kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
But, I think it comes from because I started as an artist. I always had different things going on. Like, I would have like a sculpture class, I'd have a painting class, and so
teaching or
no, actually doing the course.
Oh, cool.
Right? Yeah. So yeah, and then when I was working for myself, it was like managed services, but I was also teaching iOS and doing iOS.
Yeah.
So it was just I've always been able to just sort of go off and explore things on my own. I mean, like, I have fun. Like, I have a 3D printer at home, and
cool.
So
I haven't started that hobby.
Yeah. Yeah. So I do a number of things, but I think probably because I was a multidisciplinary artist from the get-go, sort of not unusual for me to want to try and do different things. Right?
Cool.
So I think I would suck if I had to do the same job every day for 30 years, right? So
yeah. Different brain, I guess.
Yeah, for sure.
Find a different way to keep it interesting. Cool. Thanks, man. I'm gonna make some dinner.
All right, talk to you later. Yeah,
good chatting.
It's late there. Okay.
Oh, no worries. See you online.
Bye. Yeah, bye.